Presumptive party nominees Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump trading shots yesterday, each voicing their opinion on terror policy.
Donald Trump has been very clear about what he won't do. He won't stand up to the gun lobby. The terrorist who killed 49 people and wounded 53 others in Orlando did it with 2 guns. What Donald Trump is saying is shameful. It is disrespectful to the people who were killed and wounded and their families. And it is yet more evidence that he is temperamentally unfit and totally unqualified to be commander-in-chief.
She talks about my temperament. My temperament is great. It's a tough temperament, but that's what we need. Her temperament, she's wacky. They bought her off. She's paid off, politicians. But she's paid off, 100% paid off. And until we brought this up, and I brought it up, and then she talks about women, well, let me tell you, I'm much better for women than Hillary Clinton will ever be.
Joining me right now is political analyst and Trump supporter David Wohl, along with author of The Best Worst President, Mark Hanna. Good to see you both. Thank you so much for joining us, gentlemen.
Thank you, Maria.
Hi, Maria. What's your take on these jabs back and forth, Donald Trump, Hillary Clinton? Who's right here in terms of foreign policy?
Well, I think, look, you got Donald Trump. You just have to watch that clip to see what was being exchanged. You have Hillary Clinton out there suggesting policies about gun control and substantive statements, making substantive statements, and then you have Donald Trump basically attacking Hillary Clinton personally. This is a pattern of behavior for Donald Trump. This was really a test, I think, for him, a moment to kind of shine, to show that he's presidential. He's been telling us all along he's going to become presidential. And what does he do? He tweets out, you know, I'm getting congratulations for seeing this. He's responding in a way that's egomaniacal, in a way that's consistent with his past behavior, calling the president, basically insinuating that the president is guilty of treason and in cahoots with ISIS. This is silly season, and I don't think it's ending anytime soon. Paul Ryan is also coming out and criticizing Donald Trump, saying how he has responded to this tragedy does not reflect the Republican values, the values of conservatism.
And yet, David Wohl, this keeps happening, and this was one of the first things that Donald Trump brought up in terms of extremism in this country.
Yeah. His temperament is outstanding, Maria. He's angry and outraged when Americans are repeatedly slaughtered by Islamic terrorists, and he's dispassionate and calm when he's describing his method, his proposed method of dealing with this. Not a ban per se, but a suspension of immigration of people who come from hotbeds of Islamic terror worldwide. Now, if you take a poll from that, and if you took a poll a week from now and asked people, I would guess that an overwhelming majority of people would agree with that. And as far as the gun ban goes, which we all know Hillary Clinton, if she were able to, would repeal the Second Amendment, that would ensure that the bad guys, the criminals, still have all of their guns, and the good people, the law-abiding people, do not have any. And this idea that it's an assault weapon, assault weapons are military weapons. They're fully automatic or they're select-fire weapons. This was not. This was a sporting rifle. This was a semi-automatic rifle.
That's your reporting.
Millions of Americans have them. They would never be turned in. They will never be banned. And that's not the problem anyway. It's politically correct to blame an inanimate object like a gun. It's never politically correct to blame a person, and that's what's going on with the left right now.
Here, because, Dagan, you were watching all the reporting yesterday, and obviously a lot of people suggesting that the Dem side did go directly to gun control after the tragedy in Orlando.
And we had the mayor of Miami Beach on this very program, and that is the only thing that he wanted to talk about was gun control and assault rifles yesterday. But I want to point out something in terms of Donald Trump's tone and why it resonates with people. And it's something that even the president doesn't understand. The president has failed to address and acknowledge the fear that Americans feel about the threat of radical Islamic terrorism. And in fact, he has dismissed it over the last 7.5 years.
At least he hasn't exploited it.
He hasn't. But again, that gets to the left-wing liberal logic of we bring these attacks on ourselves because of the language we
Nobody's
use.
saying
Which I know,
it.
but that's the implication, and I thoroughly reject that at every turn. But the point being is language does matter. And the president referred to ISIS as the JV team. The president gave
years ago,
after,
when it was.
But I know, but again, this is the American history.
When it was just starting out.
This is how, I know, but this is how people feel about how the president has treated this grave threat. He has dismissed it. He played golf after Mark Foley was beheaded.
Okay, this isn't a member. This is not a member of ISIS. This is a mentally disturbed person who claimed allegiance to Hezbollah and ISIS, two very different organizations, and who obviously was some.
Does it really matter?
Did seem
does
to be
it really
more
matter
upset
who he
with
claims
Donald
allegiance
Trump
to?
Then one second, David.
Maria?
Then he
Yes,
was
it does.
with the
We need to
shooter.
know who our enemies are, David.
But he was more concerned
right
with
after
Donald Trump than he actually was with the shooter. It seemed yesterday.
Maria,
well, because
that's it, Maria.
David, we're not going to
San
solve this
Bernardino.
problem by oversimplifying it. Let me ask you, David, do you think it's okay for people on the FBI watch list, the terrorist watch list, to be able to purchase guns illegally in this country? Because after San Bernardino happened,
our system needs
they
to be,
took a vote on the floor of the Senate, and every single, let me just get my point out.
Our system needs to be amended to deal with that.
But
I'll tell you something right now. When the President of the United
making
States,
it illegal.
Mark, hold on a second. When the President of the United States, the most powerful statement coming out of his administration after San Bernardino was, anybody who says anything that disparages Islam will be prosecuted. His priority seems to be protecting the image of Islam over protecting the American people.
Because he cares about the feelings of terrorists rather than the safety and security of the American people. David, I've heard this line before.
That's really disturbing.
What is the answer? Why is he so protective of Islam?
He's not. His first priority, more than any other, is to protect the American people. Are we going to be able to prevent every tragedy when some mentally disturbed, person decides to shoot people up? No, of course not. And if it's radical jihadism, radical Islam, or radical sort of extremist Christianity, small government extremism, we're not going to be able to prevent those people from shooting up people. The only thing we can do, the only thing elected officials can do, is find some way to prevent those people from getting the kind of tools of their dark dreams at their fingertips.
Or you get a more aggressive strategy against ISIS. That's another thing.
It has nothing. This isn't about.
No, this has a lot to do with it.
ISIS, yes.
These are ISIS sympathizers.
This kid was inspired by ISIS, no question. But
the Speaker of the House, the Republican Speaker of the House, very thoroughly rejected Mr. Trump's assertions yesterday about banning all Muslims from coming to this country. Adam Kinzinger, who's a veteran, or another Republican, said it was disgraceful. I'm paraphrasing. What do you make of that? I mean, there's a massive split in the Republican Party on this issue.
Well, there's obviously still a rift between Paul Ryan and Donald Trump that needs to be solved. But the reality is, Donald Trump he's used the word ban, but the reality is he's talked about a suspension of immigration while we figure out some way to thoroughly and properly vet people who come from that part of the world. And that might be criminal background check. That might be looking into the madrasas or the type of Islam that they practice. There's got to be something. We can't allow wholesale immigration. Look what's happened to Paris. Look what's happened to London.
And that certainly has resonated with American people. We got to jump because we have a hard break. But David Wohl, Mark Hanna, great insights from you both. We appreciate your time. We'll be right back.
Thanks.